With the recent news about the Marvel Cinematic Universe being all over the internet, we got to see what is in store for us. And the eyes of many were pointing to the second installment of Doctor Strange 2, or with its official title, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Marvel Sorcerer will yet again cast a spell on the audience. Thus, sit back and relax as we take a journey together to see all the news and take a first look into this movie that everyone expects to be awesome. The Doctor Strange recap. Before moving forward about what is coming next, let us take you one more time through the events of the first one, what happened, and how it all ended up. The story is about a world-famous neurosurgeon, Dr. Stephen Strange, whose life is turned upside down, literally and metaphorically. A horrific car accident robs him of his use of hands, and ultimately, his life. After months of recuperation and a ton of medical treatment, and a failure at that too, he is forced to look elsewhere for the healing treatment of his hands in order to continue with his career. He finds hope in a very unlikely place, a mysterious enclave known as Taj. He quickly learns that it is not just a healing center, but also a front line of defense against some much darker forces bent on destroying our reality. After a period of denial, he is seen quickly adapting to the environment and equipped with newly acquired magical powers, and is dealt with a decision: go back to his old life and status, or leave it all behind and defend the world as he knows it, as the world's most powerful sorcerer. Doctor Strange 2 First Look. As for the release date of the second installment, there were many complications along the way. And with the whole pandemic situation going on in everyone's lives, we understand and maybe feel less sad about the many delayed releases of many other MCU movies over the last few months. As for the sequel, when the news first came out about the second part of this movie, it was originally set for a release date on May 7, 2021, but it eventually got pushed back to November 5, 2021, due to Black Widow's delay. However, this is not at all when it comes to bad news about the release. We will have to wait a bit longer for Doctor Strange to return, as the movie was pushed back, hopefully for the last time, to March 25, 2022, after Spider-Man was shifted to November 2021. Doctor Strange 2 trailer. As for the trailer, unfortunately, there is no footage anywhere, and from the research we have done so far about the start of filming and how will it go and when will it start, we will have to wait a bit longer for a trailer or an on-set footage to tie us to the release of the movie in March 2022. But hopefully, and we are bound to have some footage of the movie at the Comic-Con 2021, if not earlier. So stay tuned and look out for any new things regarding the sequel. Behind the scenes shakeup. On January 9, 2020, some rather surprising news came out from Marvel. And as it shocked to all of us, filmmaker Scott Derrickson confirmed that he will not be directing Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, with the reason being plainly creative differences. And we say it is a shock to everyone solely because we know what he did with the first one. Not just on the big screen and how the movie looked, but also how much of a success the movie was, making over $600 million at the global box office, and was the biggest debut take for a Marvel character at the time. He is not going anywhere. Don't worry, he will stay on with the crew as an executive producer of the film. As for who will replace him, after the first talks of Raimi being the replacement in April, just 3 or 4 months after the shocking news, we were yet again calm and collected. When it comes to the people working on our favorite movies, he dropped the big news after his talks about the trilogy of Spider-Man films he directed in the early 2000s, starring Tobey Maguire. Doctor Strange 2 cast. As for the cast, we have some wonderful news. To start off, one of our favorite British actors, Benedict Cumberbatch, is of course returning as Doctor Strange, and he will be accompanied by many familiar names. After the plot synopsis was somewhat released, we also got a confirmation in June 2020 Chiwetel Ejiofor will be back in the sequel as Mordo. As for what his character job in the movie, the old friend turned enemy is the closest description we can give you. And we should expect his dark turn just as we saw in the post-credits scene of the first movie. One of the theories is that he will probably be Doctor Strange's ally, especially if the madness who is creating chaos in the multiverse is none other than Scarlet Witch. Or, on the other hand, he will be the secondary antagonist to Nightmare, just like many other movies have more than one baddie in a movie. While we are at the Scarlet Witch, Elizabeth Olsen joins the cast reprising her role in the MCU. As if we could have anyone else playing it, right? And this is because, as we know, right now, there will be some ties between the sequel and the WandaVision series. Many presumed, and were right, that Rachel McAdams will be back for yet another movie, and be back in the cast as Christine Palmer, Doctor Strange's sort of love interest. Another star coming straight from the Babysitters Club, the fan favorite Exantil Gomez joins the cast as America Chavez. So far, these are some of the main characters announced for the sequel of Doctor Strange. Stay tuned and look out for some new confirmations about the cast. Doctor Strange 2 plot. As we said before, now since Derrickson has left, we are going to assume that the plans when it comes to the plot of the movie haven't changed. So with that in mind, we continue our knowledge for the movie. At Comic-Con, Derrickson announced that they are making the first scary MCU movie, with an addition of Benedict to this thought saying, "This twist in horror will have people gripped. We'll be going back to trying to destroy him a bit, but according to Phage, it will still have the humor side of things, just like in the first outing. And it will still be PG-13. So don't expect anything Conjuring-like." From the synopsis reads, we are presented with the events after the Avengers Endgame, and Doctor Strange continuing his research on the Time Stone, but his plans become spoiled by an old friend turning evil, putting an end to his plans, and causing Doctor Strange to unleash unspeakable evil. As for Scarlet and how she is connected to our sorcerer, we will have to wait and see. From what we know, so far the events of WandaVision will lead Scarlet Witch directly to Doctor Strange for his help with something. And this theory comes into life more and more when we know that the TV show has been moved forward than what was expected at first. Another definitive connection between the many TV shows and movies from the broad MCU multiverse. Feige also revealed that there will definitely be a connection between the Loki series and the Doctor Strange sequel. More screen time with Tom Hiddleston? Yes please. He has been one of the fan favorites right from the start. So there's no doubt about it. Both of them being in the same movie at once, on the same screen. The only downside is that even though a cameo is sort of a connection, fans will be disappointed if it is just a cameo. But still, the thrill is there, right? Even if this is not the case, as Feige revealed, shows are very necessary viewing if you want to be caught in time with all the events happening at the same time. And a lot of movies coming out in a short period of time, after a long break. He also added that the episodes from the show will intersect with the movies in a big way, as they have a totally new form of storytelling that they get to play with and explore. So this is big news for all of us, and let's hope together they make it right. Doctor Strange 2 villain. When everything is considered when it comes to the villain, at this point we are not quite sure. But today we are able to present to you some of the ideas circling around the internet, and some theories which might supposedly come to be true. At the end of the first movie, in the post-credit scene, we can see Mordo being set up as the main protagonist for future films, as we saw him turn on Strange for meddling with natural law, and also adding that there are too many sorcerers on the planet. However, another supervillain has surfaced as being the supervillain in the movie, and that is Nightmare, the ruler of the dream dimension, a supervillain who has the power to suck psychic energies from the subconscious minds of dreaming beings, which is almost everyone. Considering the idea of introducing Nightmare and the whole dimensions it comes with, and that being a whole another dimension outside of ours, was just too big for the first installment. So with this in mind, the chance of Nightmare appearing in the sequel is more than certain, and with everyone saying how good of a concept this insight on Nightmare is, we are more than sure he will be there. However, to be 100% correct, we will have to wait some news in the future regarding this topic. And on that note, we end our video. Thank you for staying and watching until the end. Drop a comment